comfortable with the recording of this presentation. So without any further ado, let's get started. So as you can see, breaking the agricultural trauma of slavery. I am Brother Obafemi Kinsie Delele, coming to you from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And you kind of look at, just looking at this cover, there's some very important things that I chose to put in here. So um, it's kind of just giving you a brief synopsis of what has been happening and kind of where we're going. So at the top of the screen, you see some brothers and sisters that are working in the garden, a farm, most likely they're sharecropping. Uh, the upper left, and then in the middle, you see the Elaine Massacre Memorial built in Elaine, Arkansas. We're gonna get into that a little bit later on. And then to the far right, you see the monocropping of the industrial farming, which is a major practice today in the United States and other countries as well. Down to the bottom left, you see some brothers and sisters that are working in the sugarcane plantations down in the Caribbean. So in the middle, we had a youth group out in our community garden here in Pine Bluff, just trying to get the young people more involved to make them aware of the process. And then you see the elder is in, he's basking in his glory. So he probably got about 20, 30 years on me. So, it's like he passing the torch down to the next generation. So, and my job is to pass it down to the generations that are coming up under me. So, that's just kind of how the game go. So, let's continue. All right. So, what is agriculture? So, we can look at several definitions, several ways that agriculture takes place, uh, several ways that agriculture takes place. So, when we think of agriculture, most people think about planting. And you got some seeds or you got some plants, you put it in the ground, the water, sunlight, dirt, that's agriculture, a systematic way. But that's what I say, a systematic way of uh, you know containing seeds, a systematic way of planting, growing, harvesting plants, as well as you talk about horticulture, you're talking about livestock, getting into the animals, sheeps, cows, chickens, pigs, things like that, fisheries, even forestry. Some people have and use their land to grow trees, production for paper and other goods that are processed out of timber. So all of that involves agriculture. All right, and agriculture is an art. Okay. It says agriculture is an art. It embraces knowledge of the way we perform the operations of the farm in a skillful manner. So, being in agriculture requires a level of skill, requires a level of intelligence that increases, like as you get into this practice. So this is something that's been passed down from several generations. Agriculture is not, I would say, new, but it's new to a lot of people because again, a lot of our people suffer from the trauma. So there's a science to agriculture that involves developing these techniques in order to maximize your yield and your and profits. But we talking about profit. How does it profit us? from the foods and the plants that we grow in order to build better communities, build up our health and wellness, and ultimately to build the type of nation that we want to see for ourselves. So that's the type of profit that I'm talking about, as well as we talking about businesses can grow and develop from natural resources. So uh, us obtaining, being able to obtain natural resources and plant things that we can grow as the raw materials that are used to make other things. That's all evolved in agriculture. Okay, so let's deal with this then. What is the trauma? What is the trauma? Okay, so trauma can happen in many different ways. Um, if you look trauma, the response to a deeply distressing or disturbing event, something that something that happens that can affect you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And you think about as far as our experience in the United States, it's been a very traumatic experience since I would say the before the founding of this country, and the enslavement process was a very traumatic experience, a continuous event over generations and generations and generations of people. So think about this: people who experience natural disasters, war torn countries, things like that, deal with. Some of them may deal with trauma. Some people are not traumatized by it. But a continuous trauma over several hundred years is bound to have some psychological issues with the people and the descendants of those people who had to experience that. All right. So, and the ways that people cope with dealing with trauma sometimes can be detrimental to their everyday life. Like, you develop coping mechanisms or survival tactics based on the trauma that you experience. So we tend to operate in a certain fashion that a lot of time goes against our best interests based on this trauma, this ongoing trauma. Now think about it too. The trauma never stopped, and we've never gotten treatment for the trauma. So this trauma was a continuous process that people haven't gotten a chance to heal from. And it's a continuous process. With you're dealing with oppression, you're dealing with poverty, you're dealing with racism that causes stress. And stress, we know, has physical impediments and causes problems to the body. All right. So let's okay. All right. So let's think about this. So let's go on. We're gonna go on a little journey of the practice of agriculture. So I call that peacetime. When things were peaceful for us as a people, we wasn't. I would say we wasn't beefing with people. You know what I'm saying? At this point in time, like, so, agriculture was practiced sporadically for the past 13,000 years. You got evidence of agriculture from the Indus Valley to the in China to the Nile River Valley in ancient Kemet, and different parts of the Americas. You got evidence of agricultural practices. So move this out the way. So for the past 7,000 years, so we talking about what is so we talking about maybe 5,000 BC, widely established. We talking about global, agricultural practices going on. So agriculture is the basis of building civilization. So, people were able to develop the first cities and create civilizations based on having adequate food sources to be able to feed people, which helped to increase the human population. But for most of human existence, people were primarily just gathering what was already out, what I'm saying, that nature produced. People call that today foraging. So you're finding food sources, berries, wild, I call them wild greens, tubers, anything that's already growing, fruit trees, things like that, that's already growing that you didn't plant. People primarily gathered those food sources. So I would say, the earliest humans probably ate a lot of mono meals. So it wasn't like, oh, we got 4 or 5 different, we eating from all the food groups. They probably ate one thing, what they could find at that one time. And as people got into agriculture, that expanded their food palette to have different type of things. So they can incorporate grains, they can incorporate berries, they can incorporate tubers and things like this, beans. So, all right. So, African people, African people lived for the longest a more hunter and gatherer lifestyle than any other people. But why? If you think about the majority of the landscape, the geography of Africa, um, and we going back several thousand years. If you look, it says that they domesticated barley and lentils more than 18,000 years ago. So most of the landmass in Africa lies in between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So this is the tropical region. So plant life, fruits, all these vegetables are bountiful. So the need for agriculture wasn't as expedient as per se in other places, even though we developed in many different ways. So getting into husbandry, dealing with the animals, working with cows to plow the field and things like that. So you look and see this graphic. Here is the origins, the small farming communities that live throughout the Nile. This is what helped to form the first dynasties in ancient Kemet. So people were bringing this agrarian knowledge up and down the Nile River Valley in order to settle down to being able to produce that food. You taking, most civilizations set up around a water source. And so these small farming communities help build the pre-dynastic Kemet, which led to the foundation of the dynastic period. So agriculture has had a hand in producing the first civilizations of this world. So people talk about the Garden Eden, the Bible. Hey, the garden. Where's the Garden Eden? Some people say, oh, it's in, it's that's in Israel. This in the Middle East somewhere. Well, that's Africa as well. You know what I'm saying? People try to rename stuff for whatever the case may be, for their own control purposes. But if you if you think about, savannas cover 80% of Africa below the Sahara Desert. Some people use the word sub-Saharan. I'm just saying 80% of the land below the Sahara Desert is savanna. So this is the type of land that's needed, that has lush for farming and things like this. So say you got all types of examples of African people domesticating cattle in different places, from Chad to Kenya, just around the whole African continent. So we talking about dating back 1500 to 15,000 years, 18,000 years. We dealing with this lifestyle, and showing that connection with the earth, with the animals, with the plants. That's who and what we are as a people. So this is an article I found from news.sky.com. It says that the Garden of Eden in Africa, they trace it to somewhere in Botswana. Well, you can beg to say, well, oh, they can say somewhere else in Africa or some. Look, if you don't understand that this region of the world, you're talking about the Great Lakes region of Africa, is the I would say the cradle of human civilization. So they would stand for you to believe or understand that, yo, in this area, if you think about what the Bible says about the Garden of Eden, you're talking about a place that was rich in plant life. All right. And so the Great Lakes region of Africa is lush. You know what I'm saying? So that will provide the right environment for things to grow bountifully, and people were not living or existing in a way to, oh, we need this or we need this, or we got to beg another country, another place to provide for our resources. All right. So again, there was no need for agriculture during this point in time. Okay. Just keep that in mind. So if we look into ancient Kemet and Africa as a whole, most of our economic systems were and are agriculturally and mineral resource based. People say that Africa is the richest continent on the planet. Resources that come out of Africa go all over this world to fuel people's economies. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, the people who work and help to extract these minerals and grow this food are getting paid little to nothing. So you got ancient use of herbs before 3200 BC, probably a lot farther back there, but there's written records, that goes back. We talking about the Berlin medical papyrus, medical schools in Kemet. So our uses of plants and being in tune and harmony with nature goes back a very long time. So I thought it was very interesting to look at two of the major tools that's used in Africa. You got the hoe and you got the sickle. Now, I've been growing for about 10 to 11 years now. And I look at tools in different places. And the hoes that they use in Africa are a little different than the ones that we have here. Typically, the handles are shorter and the blades are wider to cover more surface area. So it's almost like when you dig down, you making a row, every time you strike the ground. So um, tree-based fruits were important to the agricultural systems of ancient Africa. So there's all types of plants and vegetables, fruits that we don't even get to see because of the trade embargoes that set up with different African nations. So we only see certain varieties of fruits and vegetables. And, we got a very closed off mind when it comes to because somebody else controls our food system. So, so let me check in here. Okay. Just checking the chat, making sure everybody good. So, a lot of people are familiar. Some of us are familiar with Imhotep, the great ancestor Imhotep from ancient Kemet, known for the invention of the pyramids, the step pyramid of Saqqara, but he was also extremely well known dealing with medicine. So he had about a 20 book volume, 20 books and 20 volume books dealing with usages of herbs. You know what I'm saying? So, people say that Imhotep was a multi genius. This brother was a genius on many different levels, and agriculture was one of those things that he was involved in. So I'm just showing you the greatness and the legacy of what we've already done in many different ways. It's in your DNA, it's in your genetics to do this, to have that relationship with herbs, with plants, to grow, to plant, you know what I'm saying, harvesting. All of this is wrapped up in our DNA. Some of the greatest examples of our ancestry are involved in this process. So, speaking of ancient Kemet, you know, the Greeks called him Osiris, but Asar. So, Asar, the one who holds the crook and the flail, that supreme power. But he is also known as the god of the underworld that dealt with agriculture. You know what I'm saying? And you know, seeing his skin depicted as green, that's giving you that understanding. Like, yo, I've heard people say, well, how do you tell who's indigenous? Who the original people? The original people can blend in with the foliage. Think about what I'm saying. So the original people able to blend in with our natural environment. Okay, we're able to blend in. We won't be easily seen. So Asar represents this force, this power to have that relationship with plants that can be used as a tool to heal, to grow, and to build. And also, plants can use to as a weapon to kill, to maim, to poison. You understand? Now, that's a very key point. Plants can be used a number of ways. Anything in your environment can be used as a tool or a weapon, depending on the consciousness of the person who's using it and their intentions or purpose behind what they're using it for. All right. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So, what does the Bible say? What does the Quran say? I just grabbed a couple verses. All right. So Genesis 1, chapter 1, verse 29. And God said, behold, I have given you every plant yield seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. The Quran talks about the abundance of plants to be able to grow, to divide up the earth, to be able to create rows, the plants, the things that you need to nourish your body, to nourish your health. All right. So pretty much most of the major holy books have a direct relationship that deals with plants. They play a very important role. Now, the people who teaching a lot of times, they may try to downplay it, but there's definitely a strong reverence for plant life, herbs, certain foods, because these books, as the story go, it kind of take place in the same area. So there's certain things that grow in these areas. All right. So if you are a Christian, if you are a Muslim, you definitely have guidelines that you're supposed to follow based on what the scripture says, based on what your word says. And you definitely should have a relationship with growing and planting. All right. So let's go. Let's go to North America. We here. All right. We here now. So some of our brothers and sisters say we was already here. We wasn't enslaved, yada yada. Okay. Well, let's see what the people called the American Indians, the Native Americans, were doing. We're saying 7,000 years ago. So of course there was planting going on here. There were some major plants. People talk about the three sisters that were grown. So there's from North America all into South America. There's definitely evidence of agriculture going on prior to European invasions, European colonization. So, those three major crops, corn, beans, and squash, that were grown together. So you're looking at that ma'at, that balance, uh, how things are used in tandem with each other that support one another. So corn, beans, and squash. If you think about corn is probably one of the most widely grown crops in the world today. We're talking about something that originated here in the Americas. All right. And, beans, squash, melons, things of this nature. There's sunflowers, a lot of plants that we use today, a lot of foods that we eat today are indigenous to the Americas. So the earliest evidence, we can find about 8 and 9 thousand years ago, Mexico, South America, you know, Europeans had never tasted potatoes, tomatoes, chocolate, and these type of things. But some of these were staple crops depending on where you lived in the Americas. So if you're talking about like up in the Canada region, people had lived more of a, they dealt with more fish versus planting. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a much colder region. But the further south you go, then the more agriculture practices that you see. So the closer you get to that, like I said, that tropic of Cancer, and in between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn is the equator. All right. So those areas that are closest to that region, you'll typically see more agricultural practices. And the practices will be similar no matter where you're at. All right. So this was a very key point. So it says perennial cultivation was a practice that kept the plant living. They didn't pull up the whole plant to harvest. They learn how to grow and get what they need without killing the plant. That's very important. That plays a lot into the psychology of the people. All right. To take only what you need and leave it as if you've never been there before. Walk lightly while you're on this planet. Our carbon footprint that we leave on this earth based on what we do and the type of lifestyle that we live is very important. It's very key. We are in a society that is very wasteful. I'm not gonna go too much into that because it's gonna be a whole nother presentation. But we live in the most wasteful society in this world, in the United States, and that's because the dominating mindset that leads the way is wasteful. So if you come from a wasteland, then you take a wasteland mentality wherever you go. So, but yeah, three sisters you see them right here in the picture: the corn, the beans, and the squash. All right. So farming, of course, food and medicine. There's an African proverb that says, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. All right. Very important, very key. That's a philosophy. All right. Let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. So again, just based on where the different Native Americans lived at, some stayed in the same place, some moved around, more to more, hunted and gathered. So that's going to affect their diet, what they were eating. So some had a more meat-based diet, some had a more plant-based diet, depending on where they live. All right. So native agriculture was the most advanced in what is now the southern United States, all right, Mexico, and where the Andes Mountains are in South America. So talk about irrigation, the Americas, Africa as well, crop rotation in the Americas, in Africa as well. Um, and learning different ways and methods to harvest, to dry, and store your crops that you've been planting so they won't go bad. So how to preserve the food that you grow. We talking about no electronic refrigerators and deep freezers and all that stuff. So they had to learn methods and use methods to be able to store and dry out stuff to use at a later date. So they also cotton, hemp, tobacco, and other medicinal plants were grown by Native Americans. You can see the picture right here in this village. They got a number of different crops growing. I also pay attention to the geometric shapes that we tend to use when we plant. All right, so it all serves a purpose. It all serves a purpose. Everything has a purpose and a reason for it. All right, and we create these certain shapes and designs while we grow, depending on what you're growing too. So that cotton, hemp, tobacco had a lot of use commercially that another group of people, Europeans, came in and exploited. So we call them cash crops today. So, all right. So, any questions so far? Let me see. See everybody's on. See some faces here. Okay. Just want to see y'all still rocking with me. All right. So encounters with the Europeans. All right. So we about to get into some of the trauma, man. When some of the trauma started. All right. So I'm pretty sure y'all heard Charlemagne the God on the radio. With this the OG Charlemagne right here. All right. So 812 AD, Charlemagne said that Rome, his country, they were going into Africa for their herbs. If y'all already know, typical European cooking don't have too much flavor. You know what I'm saying? And you think about the geography of Europe wasn't very conducive in much of the land mass to plant and grow things. And besides, they didn't have the knowledge that they needed to be able to use more of their land mass to make it suitable to grow. So they didn't know about irrigation and things like that, crop rotation. They didn't know how to drain the swamps out and use that water to irrigate, drain the swamps out, and use that to be fertile land to grow in, or what to grow in that type of environment. All right, so the Romans coming into Africa saw certain things and got exposed to certain plants. And these things had, of course, they were tasty and had healing effects. So what the Europeans would start doing, they start sending these religious orders, these groups, into Africa to get this information. All right, and so this is how they began to start grafting different plants. If some of y'all are familiar with Dr. Sebi, he talks about a number of different plants that are hybrid plants. Well, this is the beginning of that. So these, they were getting this information, and you also had to take into account, all right, that there's a group of Africans called Moors who went into Europe about 711 AD and took a lot of this technology, knowledge, and information and shared it with the French, shared it with these Italians, shared it with these Germans, shared with they were sharing it with Spaniards, the Portuguese. So they were taking this information, these Europeans, and they started to hybridize and graft and domesticate different herbs and plants and come up with their own stuff. All right. And this was this is to me represents a major shift, because these sciences that they learned from us, these same sciences they use against us today with this hybridized food, GMOs and stuff like that. This is the same stuff they using. We're talking about 1,200 years later. They still using that information from back then. You know what I'm saying? We just getting a modern day version of it. All right. So So looking at the history of Europe and agriculture. So it says the earliest examples of row farming in Europe date back to about 800 AD. You know, they call Charlemagne, it's like the father of Europe. Are we talking about on the heels of the Greeks and the Romans? Charlemagne was a Roman, and what he was doing and how he got some of these different people to want to work together. So agriculture actually had a devastating effect on the population of Europe. Again, because a lot of time they was experimenting with stuff. You know what I'm saying? So um, it kind of killed off a lot of people. So you had some agricultural practices going on in different parts of Europe, but agriculture wasn't very widespread. Again, the landmass and the terrain wasn't as conducive. You know, you outside of, you know, pretty much most of all of Europe is outside of that zone between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. All right, so places that were closest, you know, like I say, Spain, Italy, those places are a little closer, so they could do a little more agriculture. But those places kind of farther away had a little less experience. You know, they probably worked with animals the most during this time. So we going into talking a little bit about the Moors. So just to be clear, Moor was a term Europeans used to describe indigenous Africans. Moor means black. Now, if you don't think Moor means black, well, let's do a little bit of research. Okay, I'll just say that there are a couple words that put me in the mindset. There's a place where they take the dead bodies to called the mortuary. And there's another place called the morgue. So you tell me what that those things means. Anyway, let's keep going. Moors influence on in Spain. All right. So these Africans who went into Spain about 711, they took a lot of information, knowledge, skill to share with the European people. All right. So they introduced new stuff to their diets: wheat, sugar, oranges, lemons. I mean, sugar cane. Like, I mean, they got hooked on the you know, the chocolate they were getting from the Americas. They combined it with their sugar cane. Like, you know, a lot of stuff that the Moors took into Europe. And if you look into a lot of Italian cooking today, you're looking at what they call Mediterranean cooking today. All of this stuff is food that came. A lot of this stuff is foods that came out of Africa, but Africans took this into Europe and it influenced their culture. And now they hold on to this. It's like this is their cultural practice. But prior to the Moors coming in, you wouldn't have wanted their food at all. You know what I'm saying? So we gave it flavor. We brought that flavor to their cuisine. They didn't have it. And we showed them how to plant these things that they had no knowledge of. So they said the Moors showed them about irrigation and how to cultivate the land, how to how to I said how to transform barren land into land that they could use to grow, how to store their spices and herbs so they wouldn't rot and go bad and stuff like this. So the Moors made them stand up upright, you know what I'm saying, and put so much into their societies. And we know that the Moors ruled in parts of Europe for about 700 years. So that's going to push us to about 1400s, all right, late 1400s. So 1490, the last of the Moors are kicked out. It's like they last stand. 1490, 1492. What's going on? What's going on? European colonization. All right. So this mindset, it's Western colonialism. Europeans saying their manifest destiny, explore, conquer, settle, exploit all over the world. This is, this age starts about the 15th. So Christopher Columbus basically symbolizes or represents this is the beginning of the end or the changeover to societies that are African based to societies that are European based. All right, so Europeans used a lot of information. They had some of us on ships with them as they sailed out to different places in the world because we were the first navigators. So, of course, they needed some help. So from the 15th century onward, you know, we talking about, you just remember the Native American economy helped to benefit themselves at that time. But the American economy was reconstructed, refigured to to thrive based on what Europeans wanted, what Europeans needed to support what these European powers wanted. So each of these different countries, as they traveled to these places, they were trying to figure out what is the best thing we can use to support what we need. All right, so some people say, "Oh, they was out for gold," but a lot of times, man, they was out for food, whatever they could get. So invasions, annihilating people, and taking over their land, taking over their forms of government, and structuring a new set of rules and laws to live by. And y'all remember that movie? What was that? State Property. Benny Siegel was like, "Get down and lay down." Like that's the mentality that the Europeans came in there with. Get down and lay down. You know, if you don't get down, I'm gonna lay you down with this sword. You know what I'm saying? If you don't get down with Christianity, I'm gonna lay you down with this sword. This is the cross right here. So European colonization is in full swing. It's starting up now. So colonizers, y'all seen the shirts that say "Not today, colonizers." All right. So the Moors being defeated and kicked out of Europe helped to lead to this global colonization of indigenous people in the lands that they lived in. Man, this is like I said, this is, I would say, like our great scholar Marimba Ani says, we're talking about the Ma'afa. This is the beginning of the Ma'afa, the great disaster. So, Europeans capturing African people, 1400s, the Portuguese taking Africans into Europe. People think about, oh, we've been enslaved for this amount, like, the Arab invasion was part of a slave trade that they developed, and the Europeans basically learned the slave trade from these Arabs. So when the Europeans got into it, of course, you know, the land mass is a little farther away. So what they were doing, they were leaving their home country, their homeland, and setting out new lands to stake claim for in honor of France, in honor of Spain, in honor of England and things like this. So 1526, Spanish bringing Africans here in what would be called become the United States. So I know, what was that, a year or two ago, 2 years ago, people were saying, it's 400 years since 1619, Jamestown, Virginia. Yo, it was already on and cracking before 1619. So I know it may be symbolic for some people, but you do a little more research, you'll see that it was already going on prior to 1619. So, but this is the onslaught of the trauma. This is trauma, being kidnapped, being taken against your will. This is part of the trauma. Now we're already doing agriculture where we are in these, in the different places. So in Africa, we're already involved in agriculture that benefits our own societies. In North America, in South America, Central America, there's already agriculture going on that's beneficial to those societies. So now here comes the colonizers, and things start to change drastically. So the diversity on in our land masses in our agricultural system was changed over to this monoculture system that's was typically based on this straight profit, this straight money, how much money you can make. So if you think about this, cotton, sugar, tobacco, these were things that were sold in Europe and other places around the world. I said for money that helped them fuel their economies. So this wasn't about they wasn't growing sugar cane just because they like sweet. Yeah, they had a sweet tooth, but they were making money off this. Yeah, they like to smoke, but they fueled their habits. Their fashion industry, like all of this stuff, fueled their economies. But what did it do to the land from growing these monocrops? So you started having plant diseases. You started getting certain growth of pests that would take out whole crops and stuff like this because they were only growing one crop in large amounts of land. And that's not nature's design. Nature designs that have a number of different plants all in the same area that coexist and feed off of each other, you know. So, but they didn't care about this type of stuff. It was all about the Benjamins, as they say. You know what I'm saying? So this was all about the Benjamin. This was straight for profit. Straight about their money. That's all it was. That's what it was about. Their agriculture was based strictly on economics. Okay, strictly. So I had to get this. So this sister here, it's a powerful quote. She said, "It's in our DNA to love the land and work with nature. So farming provides you the opportunity to feed that urge. All right, naturally, Black people, African people, the indigenous people of the planet, naturally, we want to be outside. Naturally, all right. Again, I keep stressing this. The people who are of the darker hue originate in the areas between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. These areas of Earth receive the most direct sunlight for the longest periods of time. So it allows your skin, those people typically have dark skin, it allows for their skin to absorb more of the rays of the sun and allows them to do more work. That so Black people are supposed to thrive outside, outdoors, in nature. That's embedded in us. Okay. That's in your DNA. They say we come alive during the summertime. Why? Because it's hot and we typically be outside. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole we that's when we've done the most rebellions. That's when we've had the most action during them hot months because we're charged up by that sun. So part of that is agriculture, being outside, getting your hands dirty, getting in that dirt and that soil, building that relationship with them elements, the water. That's all involved in that. That's all involved. So let me check the chat. Let me see. Would would stalks of corn be one of the plants used for windbreaks? Yes. Yes. Corn, sunflowers. They had something called pole beans, um, sugar cane. As the wind breaks, and they burned down our libraries. Yes, yes, indeed, burned down our libraries, or they destroyed the people who were the walking libraries. You know, they got rid of the elders. That was a very strategic thing, like killing off, you know, the keepers of knowledge and information for different groups of people, different, you know. So when you take out somebody like that, that information is not going to be transferred or passed down to the next generation. They can't raise up somebody else who's going to carry on that tradition. So yes, they burned physical libraries and destroyed people who were libraries as well. So it's a great point. That's a very great point. So South Carolina, rice farming. No, I'm pretty sure some of you heard about the Gullah, the Geechee people. Um, so in South Carolina, they had the most profitable rice growing economy in North America. So, but a lot of the brothers and sisters who were in the area were from places in West Africa that had, you know, several generations of growing rice in these areas. So South Carolina has a similar environment. You know, the ecology there is suitable. So I know here in Arkansas, rice growing didn't start to like the late very early 1900s with the rice production, rice land. I'm pretty sure y'all seen rice land, rice in the grocery stores and stuff like that. Um, yeah, that's something that's, you know, we've been doing for, you know, centuries. Like we've been involved with that process. So my little baby girl, she's about 2 years old. Like rice is probably her favorite dish. Her mother has that Gullah Geechee line running through her, so you know it's there. So let me see. All right, okay, all right. So I just want y'all to look at this picture here. Let's look at this picture. So this is here in Arkansas. Yeah, this is here in Arkansas. And the Scott Settlement Plantation is about 15-20 minutes outside of Little Rock, Arkansas. Um, they have taken um, some plantation quarters, slave quarters, and moved them from different places within the state, and to build like a semblance of what what the plantation and the slave quarters look like. So this is an actual house. I'm pretty sure they ain't had them wood floors probably wasn't on there like that. You know, it most likely was a dirt floor. But a brother actually lived in this up into the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, but it, a lot of what I'm born in 79 now. So a lot of what I saw in here reminded me of, you know, some things that I seen in my grandparents' house, you know, and they wasn't on the slave quarters, but you know, I can see, I just see that there are different ways that we had to adapt based on this trauma. So whatever we had to use to survive, that's what we were gonna do. So I mean, they got the newspaper up on the
trauma.
wall to close off the
A
cracks
little
in the
bit.
wood to try to keep some heat in. You know what I'm saying? And try to keep
Right
the
now,
you know, insects and all this type of stuff. So, but yeah, there was a
a lot of
brother
the
that
trauma
actually
comes from
lived
even
in this,
after
raised his
slavery,
daughters in
where
here up
our
into the
folks have to struggle
90s.
doing slave
So,
robbing. They were getting money, but it was
and
Sharecropping.
then
sharecropping, but it
Mm-hmm.
was never
in
enough.
Scott, Arkansas, as
So they send
well,
their granddaddy
we
home
have
saying,
this
man,
plantation.
oh,
This is
you
where
white folks get rich from
the
the same thing they
European
granddaddy been doing.
masters, that's where they were living.
So
All
it's
right.
like,
So
no, why would I
just get a chance to see
go into
the
this, go
The
into
same
paradox
this?
of
thing with
life.
you. The
Like,
reason why motherfuckers
okay,
want to help you.
now you can
Yeah.
say the
Past
folks who
early
lived in this
on the
Excuse
mama
me.
Mars
like
Gate
this guy.
Excuse me.
plantation,
I hear
they
a
may
pet.
have had some
All day.
stress going on in their
Yeah,
life.
all them things.
That's
The money
how
ain't
much
But
shit.
the
yeah,
Then they
ones
talk
on
about
this Scott settlement plantation,
traumatized.
just them existing every day was going to bring about a stress and the psychology behind the work that they had to
It's like
do.
better
Think
one.
of again, you putting in work from sun up to sun down without no pay. They might give you a jug of liquor or a plug of
when they
tobacco
come down
or
to the
something
dog.
like this.
Well,
So
Set up.
this is this is
And
this is part of the trauma.
I know, but like I said,
They
people
call
don't
you to the
see
master
like every
house and you stand on the steps and they open the door and you look in and this is what you see.
house.
This is how they living. And your label is providing all of this
I
for
mean,
them.
I don't doubt it was a good thing. Like I said, his wife
So
and stuff like
what is that doing to the mind? What is that doing to the mind?
probably
Doing all this
determined.
work. I got this whole, I'm out here doing this, and then I go see this, and this is getting them all of this. But I don't get to
Mm-hmm.
see none of it. Again, this is playing into the psychology. The children seeing this too. The children of the folks who working out there, they seeing this too. All right. So I thought this was very interesting, how they broke down the word plantation. So they saying in the 1500s, plantation could have meant anything from a backyard garden to like an orchard of trees. But of course, as the Ma'afa, this great disaster happened of kidnapping, selling, enslaving African people, indigenous people. As this went on, the word plantation, I like how they worded it, a capitalistic type of agricultural organization. It was organized, right? It was organized. It's a systematic way that they did things to extract the resources and the labor out of the people and the resources out the ground. It's a system, all right, with a considerable number of unfree laborers under unified direction and control in the production of a staple crop. Typically on a plantation, they only grew one to two things. So now this said on average, a plantation had about 20 on average. If you combine all the number of plantations in the US, we're talking about on average 20 people. So a large plantation would be 50 people or more. So think about somebody not muted. Okay. I hadn't heard anything. I ain't heard nobody else. Okay. Okay, so if anybody needs to take a break, we'll stop right here for about a 5 minute break. What time is it? What time we got right now? Okay, 3:26. Okay, okay, yeah. All right, so let's say about 4:30, 4:31 we come back. All right, so give you a break, use the bathroom, get you some water, all that good stuff. Okay. and we'll come back and pick this up. All right. Hope y'all enjoying it so far. All right, we're gonna take a little break. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you got a chance to, you know, get you a little snack or something. Use the restroom, stretch your legs, or if you're sitting, tend to some other business. So, just want to remind you all that if you have questions, you can put them in the chat, and I'm trying to keep the chat up so I see your questions. If you have some for me, or if you want to add on or speak, just raise your hand in here and I'll see it and give you the chance to add on to the discussion. So um, if anybody wants to share something right now before I continue, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and share. What's that? How can we access this once the meeting is over? I will be sending out the recording. It will be recording. It will be available for 7 days. Okay. So yeah, I'm recording. So this recording, you'll have access to get it for about a week. So, but hopefully everybody's made it back. So let's get it rolling. Okay. Let me see. All right. All right. So again, I'm in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. All right, it's a majority black city here, southeast Arkansas. Uh, so just to share a little bit of history, Pine Bluff was one of the major strongholds for cotton in the South and definitely in Arkansas. So Pine Bluff had one of the largest enslaved populations in the state of Arkansas by 1860. Now, you have to think about it. Arkansas became a state after the the through the Louisiana Purchase, which is we're talking about like 1804, 1805, something like that. Eight, yeah, between 1800 and 1805, somewhere around there. So Arkansas was the 25th state admitted to the Union, I think in 1832, something like that. So by 1860, Pine Bluff had the one of the largest enslaved populations in the state, and cotton was king. If you from this area, been around in this area, you seen trains. If you got trains running through your town, I'm pretty sure you seen trains that say King Cotton on it. So there's been a basketball tournament here since like the 80s called the King Cotton Classic, but that's based on you know this commodity crop that was grown here, uh, cotton. It made a lot of white folk rich around these parts. So Jefferson County was second in the state in cotton production during this time. So we talk about maybe at the most 30, 40 years, Arkansas, slavery was going on because, 1865, Civil War and all that stuff happened. So, uh, but yet in that short amount of time, like that population of the enslaved African people went up very fast. So if you don't have this sister's book or haven't listened to her message, very powerful sister. Um, yeah, Farming While Black. And I got a resource list out, I'll put up. You can take a picture, write some of that down. But she made a very, very, very key point. She said you can't go through hundreds of years of enslavement and sharecropping, tenant farming, and convict leasing to go farm in prison, you know what I'm saying, and not have that trauma imprinted into your DNA and your cultural history. So it's there. It's there. I listen to my parents talk about uh, sharecropping and grandparents sharecropping and stuff like this. So understanding, the more I understood of what this process was about, it's like, yeah, I see why, subsequent generations would like, we going to college for we want some desk jobs. Man, I ain't trying to touch no hole, no rake, no shovel, no none of that. Forget the dirt. I don't give me a desk job. I want to be a suit and tie, Fortune 500 company. And that, if that's what you do, that's what you do. But for us not to understand the need for the farmers and the way that farmers and gardeners and those people impact our society, when we don't know where our food come from anymore, it's crucial. So even when we were on the plantation, we would try to supplement our our food rations with our own little gardens, you know what I'm saying, outside of the slave quarter. So we work all day for them and still come home and still had that mindset that, we still gotta grow something for self, because I mean this is survival. Like they wasn't getting enough to eat. So if you got several people in the quarters, hey, everybody trying to eat, like, so they only giving you certain amount of food per week or per month. So what we did what we had to do. We did what we had to do. Both of my grandparents I saw grow, both sets. Uh, I seen both of them grow, and my father, my mother was dealing with the house plants and roses and stuff like that. So I kind of seen it growing up. Even though I'm in a small town, but being in a small town and folks have big city aspirations. So you try, people want to emulate the stuff that they see in the movies and the stuff they hear in the music and on TV and stuff like this. So farming, like, man, I ain't messing with that stuff, man. That's what country folk do. Like, yo, okay. So again, this, we still in the trauma. We still dealing with this trauma. So the government said that they were gonna give uh, these formerly enslaved African people 40 acres and a mule. All right, but what this thing did, this 13th Amendment did, was it switched chattel slavery from private ownership to public ownership. I'm gonna say that again. What this 13th Amendment did was switch slavery from an institution that was private ownership, which means you're an individual, personal citizen. If you had the money, you could purchase an enslaved African person to work for you. That was your private business. This system switched into being a system that was public ownership. So now we're talking about cities and states and prison and things like this. So the convict leasing system and all of this, we talk about public ownership. But even with all of that going on, many of our people decided to that the primary key to our freedom was getting land, getting access to land. So yes, some of us got access to land and primarily used it to farm. So think about this. 19 million acres, that's like 14% of the farmland in the US. So we had almost a million farms owned by us. We're talking fresh coming out the Civil War. So we're down to about 1% right now. So what happened? What happened? More of us were farming coming fresh out of slavery than we do now. So, but we started with little to nothing. We didn't get no severance package after after this term of service that we gave to Europeans. And there was no psychological treatment. They didn't set up. There wasn't no social worker came to the plantation and tell me about your home life. Tell me about your family. Do you think you're well? How do you really feel? We didn't get none of that. You know what I'm saying? So you, the trauma that's been passed down from great grandma and grandpa and all of this, and you seeing your uncle get hung, and this is trauma that's embedded in our people, and a lot of it was related to the work we were doing on this plantation helped to provide the economy and the lifestyle that these Europeans did not want to give up. So, look, without having access to this land, a lot of us became sharecroppers. They came up with these laws like vagrancy laws and, oh, where you going? You ain't got no job? That's put the cuffs on you. They arrest you, take you to prison, take you to jail, and you right back working, doing that work for free again. You know what I'm saying? Loitering. Oh, 3 or 4 you standing around. Let me see some ID. You ain't got no. Oh, come on. We locking you up. We taking you to jail. So the trauma continued to plague us, like it's like a fog, like the cartoon. They had a little cloud over the head. You know what I'm saying? That cloud just keep following us even after so-called slavery is abolished. The cloud of this trauma is still following us into further generations on down the line. So here go the trauma specialist right here, though. They was, these were the experts. They it's like they went to training school for this. Like they they had this down to a science. And not to try to give them so much credit, like, these people are just so special. But what they were doing was any way that you can intimidate a grown man or a woman or strike fear in the hearts of people who you don't want to have what you have, then they were willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? So at any cost, I'm pretty sure some of y'all seen the movie Rosewood. And in the movie Rosewood, you see that aggressive nature of Europeans just take off based on just somebody said this without no evidence, and they took off and they just wiping black folk out. You know what I'm saying? Um, this is the same attitude and behavior that these Europeans have today. Like just like we are our ancestors, they are still their ancestors. Like that. Go show me the museum where they got hundreds of clan robes at. You ain't gonna find them because they still in the closet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Who was, so it's the same mentality. It's the same mentality in what they say a year it is 2021. It's the same mentality. It ain't left. Just because they had some children, you think they didn't share this? It's like I say, if we got trauma in us from this type of behavior, they got it too. They got this thing, they got this stuff passed down in their DNA too. Now, question is, are we going to allow the trauma to keep us in a frozen state of fear and inactivity to the things that we need to do to help grow our community, our people, our race? Or, we going to continue to be, pushed down, pushed to the side, fragmented from this trauma and suffer. So, again, I said trauma, trauma. So, just a few examples. Brother down in Mississippi, late 1800s. This brother was organizing uh, boycotts against these white businesses, and they had this. This was I would say is a national organization called the Colored Farmers Alliance. So they had it from Texas all the way to Florida. So they were different chapters. The Colored Farmers Alliance. This brother was like, "Yo, buy from." He was saying buy black back in the 1800s, late 1800s. This ain't a new phenomenon. So, yo, he was pushing this, and white boy said, "You gotta go. We can't have this." So, I mean, this was crucial. The farmers, the sheriff, the National Guard, and just random white folk got together and just killed about 100 of us. You know, because this brother, these farmers were determined to say, "Yo, we growing our stuff to build our own stores, to feed our own people and provide jobs for our own people. Stop shopping with them, support your own." And white folks said, "No, nigga, you ain't finna take the money from us. You got to go. You got to go." And example here in Arkansas, you know, some of the same thing. This one was probably a more publicized, I would say, but some estimate about 800 folks were killed, brothers and sisters were killed from this, you know. But we talking 1919, so it's 2021, and they just now putting up a memorial within the past 5 years dedicated to these brothers, these 12 in this picture who were sentenced to death. So yeah, they killed a lot of them during the massacre. They put in the paper that, oh, these black folks is planning to attack the white community. But these brothers got together. They were having meetings because they said, "Look, we farming, but we doing all this work, and we go and sell our cotton. Y'all trying to buy it at the cheapest possible price, and then y'all sell it at a way higher price. So we doing all the work. Y'all giving us pennies, and then y'all go sell it and make major profit off of it." He's like, "We ain't going for this. We finna organize." White folk got word. He said, "We can't have that. They don't want you to be organized." So again, this led to, you know, death. Like, and this is on the back. We talking about farmers, y'all. We ain't talking about, oh, they was gangsters. We talking about brothers and sisters who tilling the land, tilling the soil, but they still willing to fight. They still willing to fight. They said the farmers returned fire in self-defense. That means they were attacked first. So what was agriculture like? We talking about late 1800s, early 1900s. 6 days a week, sun up to sundown. That was typical work week, sun up to sundown. from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. That was it. All right. So this was very crucial to me. It said early 1900s, more than half of Americans in the U.S. were either farmers or lived in agricultural communities. That was the American way. That was the pretty much that was the human way. Most people, had some relationship in some kind of way with agriculture. Right now our only thing we eat. So that's by our closest we see the little farm on the package of the bacon we eat or whatever the case may be. Or we see the farms, Hillshire Farms, and they ain't even raising them animals on the farm like that no more. They this stuff factory farm. So it's an illusion that they created to make us think like this is how you getting your stuff today. When I was growing up as a child, they used to take us to like the little petting zoos and stuff like that, to see the chickens, to see the cow. They take you to the farm. I'm talking about like mid 80s. Man, they ain't taking the children now. Do you think they gonna take them children out to Tyson Chicken to see how them chickens is really processed? Do you think they gonna take them to the slaughterhouse to see what happened to them pigs for real? They're not doing it. Because they don't want the average person to know or see what goes on in this process of how we get our food anymore. You know, oh, don't worry about it. We got it covered. And they do whatever they do. They create this Frankenstein food without you knowing because we ain't paying attention no more. We don't do the work no more. So we don't know what's going in it. We don't understand the process no more. But we gaining ground. We waking up to that. We changing that. So that's what we here to do. Back during this time, the animals, have free range access to go outside. I hit the highway, go to work. I see the trucks with the chickens in the cages. And it straight takes me like, yo, this is like animal slavery. Like, I see. I mean, it's an 18-wheeler with cages with chickens in these cages, and this is the only sunlight they getting on the way to the slaughterhouse. This the most sunlight they get. They raised in them chicken houses, and that's their total existence until they thrown into them cages and put on their truck to be taken to the slaughterhouse. That's the majority of the chicken that's out in the circulation today for folks to eat. You know what I'm saying? They don't get to see light of day. That's crazy. That's crazy. And most of the labor during this time was done by humans or animal labor. Today, machines. Machines doing most of the labor today. Let me check this chat. Field trips to dairy farms only. Yeah. uh that's why we would stomp in church service on Sundays. Let me leave this open so I see it. um okay, so it says typically agriculture, you know, the agricultural practice of the past had, many different plants, animals on the same and everything was in operation on the same farm. Like, so a farmer had many skills because he had to learn the whole process, or his family was involved in the whole process at this one farm site. It ain't how it works today. That's this is this is not how it worked today. Let me see this thing moving. Okay. So because of the trauma, because a lot of this trauma, this process right here started to happen. What we know today is the Great Migration. So a lot of our people moved from the rural South to the cities. You know, the both coasts up north. From the 1916 to about 1960, 1970. That's what led to the Harlem Renaissance. The explosion of art, the music, the culture, fashion. Jazz and blues is blowing up. We getting more politicians and stuff like this. But again, the trauma is what led to this. trauma, not having access to adequate employment, underemployment. I mean, the fear of being lynched because you said you didn't want to do something. Like I gotta walk with my head down. I gotta hop off the sidewalk when a white person passed by. Like I remember my uncle told me. Um, I think my uncle was born in 1940. He told me, he said, I remember. He said, white guy came to the house one day and he talked to my dad, my grandfather, and he said, where that boy yours at? He need to get out in the field today to he said he said to the white guy, I didn't plant no damn cotton and I damn sure ain't chopping none. He said the next day my grandfather shipped him off to Detroit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and my uncle stayed in Detroit for a couple decades. Like this is some of the, like, this is some of the reasons why a lot of our people left out. Like some of our people wasn't going. The younger generation was like, yo, I ain't, no, I'm not going for that. You know what I'm saying? So um that moved black culture or African American culture into different areas in the United States that helped a lot of the expression that you see in our art, our music, things like that. So this is, to me, the Great Migration is a response to the trauma that we faced, and then we got to these places and found out that the trauma was still gonna go on in these big places. So we thought we was getting away from it in the South, but I heard a brother say, if Canada is to your north, then you in the South, period. I don't care whether you in Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Miami. If Canada is in the north, to your north, then you in the South. All right. They gonna treat you the same way. All right. They may be a little more sophisticated than other places, but you know, we just have to be aware. So, you know, I'm just we on this timeline. We moving up through history. So the Industrial Revolution changes our opportunities. Now, we talking about during slavery, we were inventing things related to agriculture, and coming out of slavery, we were still creating and inventing things that Europeans would take and use in these agricultural practices. So, with these tractors and stuff like this, now this war expanded the market of where United States can sell their goods. So the message was, if you a farmer, go buy this mechanical equipment and you can produce a lot more. But then producing a lot more led to extra crops, so the prices dropped. But this also led to people taking over other people's land. You know what I'm saying? So you're getting less farmers happening around this time. We're talking World War I. All right. And you see at the last point, in 1920s, the increased use of pesticides. Why? Because they're growing monocrops. When you grow one crop over a large land mass, then whatever type of pests that are attracted to this one particular crop, you don't have any companion plants that are growing with it that they could feed on to anything else. So if you got a pest control problem, you only growing one crop, it's possible to take out your whole crop. Now you in the hole. Now you done lost your whole crop. If you share crop, now you don't have no money to pay off the folks that you done borrowed the tools and to do all this work from. You know what I'm saying? So they had to come up with these chemicals, pesticides, to kill the pests. But what do the pesticides do to the soil? What do they do to the plants? All right. So healing this psychological trauma. I looked up trauma in agriculture, and they said that tractor rollovers is like the number one trauma in agriculture today. You know, folks on the tractor tumble over and folks get hurt. Like that's the number one trauma in agriculture today. But we not talking about tractor rollovers because we was the tractors. We was the technology. Like we were the tractors. We were the tiller. We was the hoe. We was the wheelbarrow. We were the technology that built this country. We wasn't. You had to think these people didn't see us as people during this time. We were just the machines that built it. So we were the crane. We were the technology that built this society, not the people. They the people who built it. We were just the technology that they used to build it, the human technology, because they didn't see you as a person. If that makes sense. So yeah, the trauma you weren't even seen as a person. You were expendable. So just some quick note. Let me Just a quick note. So 1900 population. We're talking about 121 years ago. That's U.S. population. So farmers about 40% of the workforce. Average acres on a farm was 147 acres. 121 years ago. The average farm had about 147 acres. All right. That's, like I say, about 40% of the workforce, the labor force in the United States was agriculture. So again, that's like the way of life. But these inventions of these machines and stuff, with what they said, this is going to transform the society so people can do other things in the society. So okay, what would these people be doing then? These are some of the things that help transform agriculture to what we know today. Okay, so specialization, uh, mechanization. So remember what I said that in the past, late 1800s, early 1900s, a farm, everything was done, all the operation was done in one spot. Now they have specialty farms that only do one part of the production. So you got a farm that's just straight dairy farm. Back in the day, the dairy farm was part of the agricultural part, everything. So now you got a place where they do the slaughtering. They just do the slaughtering right there of the cows. Like so, one farm is raising the cows, another farm is where they do the slaughtering or something like So is they fragmented the operation so one farm would just work on one particular thing you know I mean it's there's people who doing the trying to go back to the old way, so there is a resurgence in that, but I'm just speaking on this is these are the things that happen to help transform agriculture into this beast of what it is today in the United States. So the machines, workforce in agriculture declined from 41% to 2%. Now, here in Pine Bluff, we have a university called the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. It's a historical black college. All right, we have a agricultural program here. It's pretty widely known. It's world renowned agricultural program. Only 2% of the students who go to UAPB going to school for agriculture, though. Only 2%. And most of those people are going to go work for this company that some of you probably heard for, Monsanto. Monsanto recruits at the historical black colleges. All right. So you're going to school for agriculture and Monsanto recruits at HBCUs. So they get the black people who even want to get into agriculture, they get them to come work for them. It's cold blooded. Cold blooded. So these machines are doing the work of what 10 to 100 workers could do in an hour. Like, so that put a lot of us out of jobs. Like, we don't need you no more. We got this machine to do it. So And this is a big one. So these chemicals and these pharmaceutical, the drugs that they put in their food, them drugs. They put the drugs in the food. They put the drugs in the feed that they feed to the animals. So the animals are growing big and strong off of the food. They got the drugs already in it. And then they slaughter the animal that's been grown off of this drugged up food. You know, one of my favorite songs growing up as a youth. I'll never forget this album, Edutainment by Boogie Down Productions. KRS One had a song on there called Beef. This came out when I was 11 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that song stuck in my brain. I turned 42 this year. Like that song stuck in my brain. You know, I didn't. And he mentioned how to eat to live in. I think when I was probably about 24, 25, that's when I finally read the book. But it was because this song that I knew about it. You know what I'm saying? So he was talking about this stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm listening to this at 11, like, man, this sound crazy. You know what I'm saying? 11, we talking like 90, 91 is when this came out. So um, he was talking about this, uh, and that's this something that stuck with me. But if you look, it says from 64 to 76, the amount of pesticide increased by 143%. 143%. They put the antibiotics into the cow, the chicken, and the pig feed. The food that they feed, they put the antibiotics in the food for the animals to eat. So they said these experiments during this time showed feeding the drugs to animals caused them to gain weight faster on less food. 80% of the drugs, antibiotics sold in the US were for livestock production. I'm going to say that again. It's crazy. By 2009, 80% of the antibiotics sold in the US were for livestock production.
That's crazy.
So they drug the animals up. They get the antibiotics to the animals, and this is how they grow so fast, so big in a short amount of time. Now, this last statement, compared to chickens of the 1930s, chickens bred for meat grow almost twice the weight in less than half the time, using less than half as much as food, which pretty much just blowing up their hearts, heart failure. Some of them get so big that they can't, they their legs can't support their body weight. I mean, their legs literally break because they so big. You know what I'm saying? So it also, it gives infections to the cows, the pigs. So some of these animals are sick going to the slaughterhouse because of the drugs that they getting pumped up with, and they still make it to the slaughterhouse. So it's not like they gonna tag the ones who were sick or not. It's all gonna get wrapped up in the same package, and they gonna ship it to your local grocery store. So that's why we had to get back to agriculture, man, because these Frankenstein foods they create for us. And we wonder why you know, we starting puberty at 8. You know what I'm saying? Because the drugs, the sex hormone, the hormones that they put into to make them reproduce faster, so they grow up faster, so they gonna reproduce faster. So the antibiotic is in it, is the steroids and stuff is in the stuff that they producing. All right. So consolidation, you can see that in pretty much. This is just like the American way, like. They say big bank take little bank. The big farms uh merge with a smaller farm or put the small farm out of business. So early 1900s, they said the average farm was about 146 acres. Today, 1,000 acres. Half of all U.S. cropland is on farm with at least 1,000 acres, growing one crop. Growing one crop. I don't know if y'all know about like the Dust Bowl, like the early 1900s. This is where it come from. Them monocropping, not rotating crops, using up all the topsoil. So the soil doesn't have any nutrients. So ain't nothing. They ain't plant no. They didn't plant no cover crops. So the dirt ain't the soil don't have no nutrients. Now it's just dirt and dust. That wind that's blowing it everywhere. The folks they just we don't know what's going on. Till George Washington Carver say today. Pretty much. So give thanks to George Washington Carver. He the Europeans took his information and uh, went, went wild with it. So and then you got the market concentration, where people, you have one company that produce six different brands or something. So you going to buy, let's say you want some chips, and one company owns six different brands. Well, so you like, oh, I like, I like Frito Lay, or you like Lay's, or you like, well, they all controlled by the same company, produce all these different brands. So this is market concentration where one or two companies control the market because they own all the different varieties. So they're either going to merge or take over their competitors. So you got some startup companies, a lot of these plant-based companies that get started, these major companies are looking at them hungry, like they gonna be successful or not. If we do, we gonna try to buy them out, and then we take them companies into ours. Now we in control. So they try to control the plant based market and everything. You know what I'm saying? That this is what they do. This how the beasts operate. So how do we overcome the trauma? What time? What kind of time we looking at? Can't keep it all day. We closing it in though. So how we overcome the trauma? How we overcome this trauma? Deprogram and reprogram. We got to unlearn some stuff and relearn some stuff. I mean, this picture, this backdrop is like this is we gotta get outside. You know what I'm saying? They go. I mean, you're gonna have to get outside. We have to we got to reconnect. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's just walking to start. If you ain't in a place that got a lot of trees and like go to a park, just walk in the park or something like that. Like take some time to get outside, see the smell the breeze, learn the plants, learn about some basic plants that grow in your area naturally. Um, this is how we start to break some of this trauma, because if we have a negative disposition toward plants, like you know i I started changing my diet back in like 2005. I stopped eating pork, and I was, I didn't read the How to Eat to Live, Elijah Muhammad. I'm like, yeah, I'm on it, like, yo. So I started, growing, getting more information, African holistic health, and learning about Dr. Sebi, and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, yo, I didn't try it. I didn't, pescatarian, vegetarian, vegan. I didn't went raw. All of that. And what that led to me was when I started switching my diet, and I wasn't the basis of my diet wasn't animal based. I didn't have an animal based diet. Like, I talk to people and they say, I don't see how you can eat that without no meat. I'm like, you know, if we because we taught to center our meals around meat. And so the psychology says if ain't no meat on my plate, well, I just got sides. I'm like, no, your sides is these are your main courses now. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, just saying, like, that was me having to unlearn and reprogram my mind to wrap myself around, man, I ain't got no leg quarter on my plate. You know what I'm saying? So what can I do? So I had to start deprogramming, reprogramming my learn. I went through a period of time where I turned off the TV, the radio, none. You know what I'm saying? I didn't on the TV. radio. I stopped listening to the radio. All like 2005. Like I'm like, yo, I'm done. I had so much programming, so I'm now I got to deprogram, you know, and started reprogramming my mind. I had to unlearn a lot of stuff and start relearning some things. So uh, on my own health journey and going into the grocery stores and seeing these prices of this food, I'm like, man, my dad's like, son, you better go till up till up your backyard. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I joined the African Centered Study Group, and one of our requirements is to you got to grow some on your own. Like that's grow some. That if you can't feed, clothe, and that's the order of the day. My eldest tells me is like food, clothing, and shelter is the order of the day. If we don't own or control the production of our own food, we can't build or manufacture our own homes. We're not in the process of, people say with clothes, but yo, everything is being weaponized against you that you don't own, control, or produce or manufacture. So going to get a little science lesson. So, I was, I got the label as a nerd during school, and I tried to shake it, but I like science, math, stuff like that. So, yo, we need some terms. There's some basic stuff we have to understand. So, ecology, you know, the definitions are very critical in understanding things. If you can't define something, then it's hard for you to really understand what it is. So, ecology, ecology and economics are tied together. If you look and see the Greek root for the word ecology and economics, it's household, how to manage your household. So, ecology deals with the economy of nature, the relationships between organisms and their environment. Another one of my elders told me economics is based on a system of relationships and how well people relate to one another. Now, if you look at the relationship that we have amongst each other, we fighting an uphill battle to convince our own people that buying from each other is what we should be doing. An uphill battle. That tells me that we're dealing with some trauma. Think about it again. We have to try to convince our own people that buying from each other is something that we should be valuing because evidently we're not doing it right now. That tells me that there's some trauma. There's something wrong. Something doesn't happen to the mind to make us think that it don't matter what we do. I shop with everybody. You know what I'm saying? I like what I like. Like, no, you don't. They tell you what to like. They create the wants and the likes in your mind because they market it. They market it to you every day. So I had to throw Carver in here, but he says nothing exists without a purpose. The job of a scientist, and we are all scientists. When you go into that kitchen and you're like, man, I ain't got nothing but this ingredient, this. I got this rice. I got some. I'm finna do some. I'm gonna chop these onions up and these peppers and throw them. I'm gonna come over. I don't what you call it. I don't know, but we gonna eat tonight. That's science. Like so the job of a scientist is to discover purpose and publicize the benefits for other people to gain from. Scientists have a job, and each one of us is a scientist. Scientists help to discover and recognize things to share their outcomes with others. So when you have questions about something, you try to find a systematic. Science go with mathematics. You're trying to find a systematic way to go about to solve this problem. So this is part of the healing, you know. So I know, our living situations may be different. Some of us live in apartments. Some of us live in concrete jungles. Some of us live in more rural areas. Like, and I'm going to do, I got another uh, presentation coming up that's going to go. It's going to primarily be focused on this and waste. Like, it's a lot, but most indigenous people, African people, practice a method of composting. 40% of the waste in the United States is food waste. 40%. You think about all the restaurants that prepare food and stuff like this, and they get thrown out, and we got people who don't eat, people starving and stuff like this. But 40% of the waste in this country is food waste. And that for those food scraps and waste can be used as fertilizer, organic material to help build up and regenerate and heal the soil. The key to farming and agriculture is having rich soil. The nutrients are in the soil. The things that you need to make up your body to keep you healthy and strong is in the soil, it's in the dirt. It gets in you because when you plant the seed and that seed sprouts and you water it, that water takes the nutrients from the soil and transfers them into the plant. If your soil ain't rich, then your plants won't be packed with the vitamins and minerals and nutrients. So the richness has to be in the soil. And the best soil is that black gold. That black soil is that's that rich soil. You know what I'm saying? So working in harmony with nature, like we rotate crops as you grow. Like Europeans would, you plant the same stuff over and over and over in the same spot without putting something. Like you just can't take without giving and giving and giving. That's my art. That's balance. So without crop rotation, you're in a take position because you're putting something in the soil that you want to take from, and you're not replenishing. You're not putting anything back in the soil. So when you're rotating crops, certain crops provide certain minerals and things in to help enrich the soil. And we turn this stuff over and put it back into the soil to create healthier soil. So when we plant something else, those plants can grow with them nutrients in it. So when you plant, you're depleting soil, you got to enrich the soil. You plant some, you're depleting the soil, you got to put some back in the soil to replenish the soil. So it's a give and a take. That's balance. That's harmony. That's my art. So this second picture, you see the dog out there, they got the tarp on the ground. They call this a no-till garden. So they're not turning over the soil. So they may be composting, or they use different methods, but they lay their tarp down and they cut little slits in the hole, and this is where they put their seed at. And the tarp helps to keep the grass and the grass from growing up in the weeds and all of that stuff. So the only thing you get coming up from the tarp is the plant from the seed that you planted in there. And so you ain't got to worry about the weeding and all of that type of stuff. So uh, this is a common practice on small gardens and local gardens, community gardens. I'm seeing more of this happening. So healing the soil helps to heal us. Healing the soil. Our soil has been raped. It's like we were raped. Just like the continent, we're talking about a rapist culture. Europeans have a rapist culture. This is go and go watch that movie Quest for Fire with the cavemen. You know what I'm saying? Like raping is part of who they are. So it don't just manifest in humans. They rape the land. They rape resources. You understand what I'm saying? It's a take. Ain't no reciprocity. So we have a responsibility to help heal, and growing things is part of that healing process. We help to replenish the soil when we grow something. So um, intercropping, or they call it companion planting. Certain plants kind of vibe off each other. It's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I'm saying? Certain plants vibe off and thrive off each other from being around one another. So, plants need pollinators. So you grow some tomatoes, you put some marigolds behind it. The marigolds are going to help to attract the pollinators, and those pollinators, they're going to come and hit your tomato plants, so you get, tasty, juicy tomatoes all season long. So most plants have a companion that, different herbs that you can pair up with greens, or vegetables and fruits that are beneficial to one another. Companion planting, that's something, again, they talk about the Native Americans with the the three sisters, the corn, the beans, and the squash. That's what that is. That's intercropping. That's companion planting, because they all take benefits and get benefits from one another being grown in tandem. So, um, like I said, it helps to heal the soil, and that's a lot of what has to happen. Again, regenerating and healing the soil will help to heal us in the process. I'm telling you, being outside is, being outside is very therapeutic, especially getting some access to that sunlight. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us have been turned off to wanting to be outside, because I mean, we, in this society, man, we don't want to sweat, like, I ain't sweating. It remind me of slavery. Like, oh no, I can't show nobody that I'm sweating. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, we supposed to sweat. If you don't sweat, then your body, your skin is the biggest organ. So to get rid of toxins, your body needs to sweat. So if you never sweat, either the too cold climate or something getting clogged up, and something is going to show up on the inside of your body. So we supposed to sweat, y'all. Don't let nobody tell you that you ain't supposed to sweat. Okay. All right. So better soil equals more abundant crops, more money in your bank, your community, your household. Your food choice is gonna be better. It leads to better health, better wellness, longer lives. Our environment is vibrant when you got stuff growing. Like, you drive through our communities and ain't nothing growing but crime. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the plan said. Like, I was saying the other day, you know what I'm saying? Junk food, it's all in a cycle. So, our crew, we were doing community cleanups, and we go through the neighborhoods, you know what I'm saying? And, the chip bags, the Swisher Sweet wrappers, the cigar wrappers, the beer cans, the fast food, and all, we see all of this stuff. This is the trash that we picking up. And I'm like, yo, the stores is right there. I said, then you see all the abandoned houses and boarded up stuff. I'm like, do y'all see the direct correlation? I said, with the mindset and the attitude that, first of all, not having the proper respect for our own environment. Like, you live in this community, but your values are saying, like, man, I don't care. I'm eating junk, and I'm gonna throw the junk paper in the ground. Now the community is junky. And then we say, man, I don't even like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the hood messed up. Like, well, we contributed to it because ain't nothing growing. Ain't no life being sprouted up. So, you know what I'm saying? So that can help. This is, and folks say, man, that ain't gonna change nothing. Like, you'd be surprised how many people, you know, do a double take when they see some stuff growing in the community and they ain't never seen it. There's people who ain't never seen a tomato grow. They don't know what a melon look like on a vine. They ain't never picked the apple off a tree. They never seen a plum tree. Like, a lot of our children and adults, like, they've never seen these things before. So when you do that and you got access to that in your community, man, people take notice. So sustainable agriculture, that's this is where we gotta go. Something that's sustainable. that doesn't rape the earth, that helps to replenish, to enhance the resource base, enhance the environmental quality, um, is viable. You know what I'm saying? Like it can be profitable. And I'm saying profitable, not just in the sense that we making money, but of course we can build an economy, an economic base off of food production. Again, everybody eats. It don't matter your belief system. You can say you Christian, you Muslim, I'm agnostic, I'm atheist, I'm Ephi, I'm ancient Kemetic spirituality. At the end of the day, middle of the day, in the morning, everybody gonna eat. And we all in the same grocery store line, paying somebody else for our food. We we have to be the producers of that. We this is our responsibility. Show me another nation in the world who relies on another country for all of their food, and I'll show you enslaved people, a dependent people, and oppressed people. And any other people that depend on another group of people for their food, they be in control. Trust me, they be in control. You know what I'm saying? They control your appetite, and not just your physical appetite, your mental, your spiritual, your likes, your tastes, your entertainment. They gonna control your appetite because they control your food, so they can manipulate how you think. So if you're curious about seeds and okay, man, I want to grow. I ain't never grown them, man. I'm gonna go get some seeds, man. And I'm gonna see what I can do this year. Well, like I said, we talked about back in 800 AD. They started grafting and all of this stuff, and coming up with. They got Terminator seeds. They, you can have a bell pepper, and they got the seeds in them, and them seeds you can't produce nothing from the next year. You got to go back and buy seeds each year. They've even got some where they've taken the seeds out of. Like I remember going to the grocery store and I cut open the bell pepper, and the seeds had been dwarfed. Like the seeds were almost non-existent in the inside of a bell pepper. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy. Like I said, yo, I said that's why we growing, bro. This is why we growing. I said because if we totally dependent on them, they gonna get to a point in time where people ain't even gonna know what it is they eat no more because they done modified the stuff so much, so it's so far away from what it originally was. You don't even know what it is anymore. You know, I had children I worked with who never tasted a fresh strawberry, but they had some Skittles, strawberry flavor. They didn't have strawberry pop Fagos. You know what I'm saying? Strawberry airheads. They know what that tastes like, but they were scared to taste the real strawberry. They've been genetically modified already. You know what I'm saying? So when they get some nature, they don't want it because they already been drugged up by the artificial. You know what I'm saying? So you got hybrid seeds, you got the GMO seed, you got open pollinated seed, you got heirloom, organic, and treated seeds. So personally, what we've been this year, we've sought out organic and heirloom seeds. We've also getting into seed saving. So you can, like, when you go to the grocery store and you buy some and save the seeds, you can try to sprout them and see what they do. That'll kind of tell you if the plants are hybrids or GMO or not, because again, they don't want you to be able to take them seeds and grow some on your own. So all right, so what we're dealing with has, people say, well, that was in the past, all that stuff, slavery, man. I wasn't no slave, man. You know what I'm saying? We was already here. My folks didn't go through that, or whatever the case may be, man. That was so long ago. Why you still talking about that, man? It's slavery, man. That was way back there somewhere, man. Like, again, only about 1%, maybe 2% of our people today are farmers, are in agriculture. Mexicans run Mexicans doing all that labor today, and we think we above that. but Mexicans are controlling their own neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? Like they ain't they you know they can maneuver in different ways because for one they still tied to their culture, and you know what I'm saying. So that helps to provide them a basis of operation. We think we just out here on our own, and so we don't tie ourselves to anything. So we just individualistic. We just move how we want to. Like, can't nobody check me. We ain't got no system of checks and balances of how we operate. We don't have no community code. We don't have no code enforcement. So we tend to do what we want to do, and so there's no accountability in our community. So the youth run wild, you know what I'm saying? And we don't. You can look at most groups have most nations have an army and they have a mafia. You know what I'm saying? So you get out of line, you got repercussions. You got people that's gonna deal with you. We don't have no code of conduct of how to operate to say, hey, you young men right here, we gonna train y'all up in this particular craft. We don't have that rites of passage to prepare the next generation to go into the things that we need in order to build something for ourselves. So we miss out on so much because we just sporadic. We do what we want to do. You know, 70% of the children today say they want to be YouTubers. That's their career choice. I want to be a YouTuber. They they gonna be a YouTuber. Somebody else can do all the food, the clothes, the shelter. Somebody else can do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna make the money and buy it, but somebody else control it. Like, we invented everything, but somebody else manufacture all of it today. We invented the lawnmower. Somebody else manufactured it today. We invented the pencil sharpener. Somebody else manufactured it today. We invented the broom. Somebody else manufactured it today. You understand what I'm saying? We created so many things, but other people in control of the production and manufacture of it, so they can provide jobs for their own people. We say we don't want to do that. We mentioned, like I said, you mentioned skills to a young brother today. They think you're talking about playing sports or rapping. And I rap too, by the way. But, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, I play sports too. But I'm just saying, like, it's more to us than playing ball and rapping. Like, all of us can put some words together that rhyme. But can you fix this pipe? Can you do some plumbing? Can you do electrical work? Can you do some bricklaying? Can you grow your own food to feed yourself? So this is the type of stuff we got to get back to. And, like I said, agriculture is the basis of building, constructing a culture, a civilization. So there is no future for sustainable food and farms without getting this justice, racial justice. We ain't asking for no justice from nobody else, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, whatever we can get from them, we can get, but justice ain't something you ask for. Justice is something that you get for yourself. You understand? By your raising your consciousness and moving in a certain manner that benefits your interests, your people. You know, so hey, some people will say, man, you talk a lot about race and this and this. You racist, dude. I'm like, yeah, racist to me means I'm race first. I'm putting my people first and our interests first. And show me a race that don't put their people first. I'll wait. Name a group of people who don't put their people first. Who do you think Chinese are looking out for? Everybody, everybody, right? Who the Italians looking out for? Everybody, right? They made sure everybody's straight first before the Italian people straight, right? The Koreans, who you think the Koreans look out first for? They going for everybody, right? That's us with this mentality. Somebody got to our mind. I said this is part of that trauma. We scared to be for us first. We don't want to secure home first before we go out there and mingle with everybody else. You know what I'm saying? We got to get our own stuff together. What the church song is, they sweep around your own front door before you try to sweep around mine. Like, we got to handle our own stuff. We can't be getting ourselves wrapped up in everybody else's stuff. We are the world, but we ain't got our stuff together. We got to get our own stuff together. And so the only way we going to get racial justice is by us standing up for our race first. Period. Point blank. So we closing in. This is we got a few more, but here in Pine Bluff back in 2017 we started the GSC Community Gardens. GSC stands for Grow Something Challenge. It was like a little social media hashtag just to encourage people to want to plant, want to grow um, something. You know what I'm saying? So look, I'm missing stuff. Yeah. Yes. City. Yeah. That's what's up. That's what's up. We got to get organized. We got to get organized. Food share programs, community gardens. We got to get organized. We've been studying the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, of from the 50s to the 70s. And one thing I'll say is that I've been learning is the level of organization allowed them to move in a manner that whether people want to say they got some stuff accomplished, but things were a lot more organized. We got a whole bunch of organizations today, but we ain't organized. You understand? So GSC Community Gardens is an organization. Brothers and sisters here, we, our ideas is sustainable. So we use recycled materials, reclaim from the neighborhood, whatever we can find. Pallets, we collecting rainwater. We using the logs, cinder blocks, bricks from old torn down buildings, tires. We use bamboo in the neighborhood to build TPs. Like whatever we can find, we foraging. We let some of the wild plants grow up. So this is the model. We got beds built out of old box springs. You know what I'm saying? And put the soil in there and fill it up. So whatever we can use that's already in our environment, this is the model that we trying to put forth to show people like we ain't trying to depend on Lowe's and Walmart and all of this to do what we need to do. It's already here in your community. We just have to see it as opportunity instead of an eyesore. Like we see an abandoned lot, we have to see what can we build, what can we grow, what can we make, instead of saying, man, it's messed up. Go clean it up. It's your neighborhood. Take ownership of it. So, repurposing. We took these empty water bottles and made them seed starters. You know, there's some we got access to. Like, why not? It's gonna end up in the landfill somewhere. Take it, use it, cut it in half, put some water in the bottom. Start your seeds off in there, let them grow, transfer them to the dirt when they get ready. So we just being resourceful. On the movie, The Spook Who Sat by the Door, the brother said they would talk about building the Molotov. He's like, well, just run down the Marshall Fields and go buy all the stuff you need. Like, we be resourceful. We got to use the stuff that's already in your environment. And that's what we have to be resourceful. We can't depend on the store to do everything that we're trying to do. It ain't gonna happen. Milk crates. They're growing peppers. There's eggplants in the middle. You know, if you ain't got burlap, take an old t-shirt, put cardboard at the bottom, put the t-shirt in there to hold the soil in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to find a way to make it happen. We ain't got no excuses. You ain't got, I'm staying in an apartment. Here you go, right here. Here's an example of how you can grow some right there. You know what I'm saying? Get you some fresh peppers, tomatoes, whatever you want. So, pallets. Take a pallet, make a bed out of it. Here we took some old scrap wood right here, made a little herb box. This my oldest son right here. Um, we dig, little seed trays. You can get stuff like this kind of inexpensive. We ain't trying to get all these people our money. They didn't already they didn't already got the labor out of us for several hundred years for free. So we can't keep giving them all our money, time, and energy. Let's do something for ourselves. All right. Save some seeds. You got bottles, Save some of them bottles, get some soil. You want to learn how to mix some soil up and stuff like that, we can help you with that too. So that's about it. That's gonna take us to this is the references. If you want to get some more information about uh things that were shared today. So any comments or questions? It's gonna be the conclusion of this presentation. So like I said, there's quite a few books on here. Say the plastic, yes, them plastic, them plastic berry containers, yes, indeed. Or they sell the salads at McDonald's. Them trays that the salads come in. That's another good one. So, what other classes are being offered virtually? Tasha Moore. Okay, so classes virtual. I'm just typing in the chat right now. Virtual classes. We are developing. We also share quite. We also share in our group page. Grow something challenge, and we have our garden page, GSC Community Gardens. I mean, we giving tips in there. Yeah, we giving tips in there. You're always welcome to volunteer if you're in the area, Pine Bluff. And we looking to, like I said, we in the process of developing some basic classes like how to sprout seeds, how to build some starter soil, um, what to your planting guides. Like if you want to know what to grow, when to grow it, depending on where you live, those are some important things. So the was that uh, what's his name, Benjamin Banneker. He came out with almanacs. Benjamin Banner was in tune with the cosmos. He was into the stars and all of this. So he used that information to be able to know when to plant, when to harvest, and those type of things. So there are still farmers almanacs that's available that you can purchase to help you get into systematic. And depending on what state you live in, typically the Department of Agriculture for the major college in your state typically has like a growing chart of what to grow in what season, what month. Arkansas, the University of Arkansas Fayetteville they have growing guides of when you should plant, what's the best times to grow. So we use that sometimes. We also got like a schedule based on like the moon, the cycles of the moon. So getting in tune with what's going on with the moon, because the moon has effect on the water on the planet. So when the tide is high or the tide is low, it lets you know when you should plant and when you shouldn't be planting things. So it's a science for real. The more we, like I said, the more we tune into things, and we'll understand it's more just grabbing some dirt and throwing a seed in and think, voila, something gonna happen. Like um, I said, this is probably my 10th or 11th year growing in a row. And I started out, you know, I went in my backyard. I had 3 rows about maybe 6 feet long. I went and got some collard greens, some peppers, some tomato plants, and I was so excited to see this stuff grow. I was like, the next year I doubled my size in what I was growing. So, you can get bit by that bug of wanting to grow. It ain't nothing like walking out your house and being able to get the food that you grown. There's something special, like the value and the taste of that food is different than what you get in the grocery store. Like, it didn't have to be gassed up and preserved to have longer shelf life, to sit in the grocery store and sit in a warehouse waiting to be transported to where you at. You know what I'm saying? I've went in the grocery store in Walmart and gotten lettuce that's been sprayed and coated with wax, and I'm peeling the wax off the lettuce, off romaine lettuce. Like, not when I grow my own lettuce. It ain't like that. You understand what I'm saying? So, um, this coming out of Walmart. It doesn't happen more than once. So it's imperative. Like, we find something. Find your favorite vegetable or something. Something simple to grow. Like, even if you don't want to get into vegetable production, kitchen herbs. Look in your cabinet. I'm pretty sure you got some basil, thyme, oregano, rosemary. Them herbs is easy to grow. You know what I'm saying? You can grow them in your windowsill if you ain't even got no yard to grow in. So I encourage everybody to grow something this year. That's what the challenge is. I'm still pushing the challenge. So I encourage everybody to plant something for yourself, for your family, show your children, get them involved. They gonna love it. You know what I'm saying? So uh, that being said, hopefully this has been a resource and help on your journey. Let me see. Big ups to urban farmers and grows on 8A. Yeah, I think we like 7. I think we like 7B. Yeah. So you a little farther down. Where you in Florida, Louisiana, Texas?
Norfolk, Virginia.
So I'm asking everybody to unmute. So if you want to go ahead, I know we probably over time right now.
Peace. I'm in Norfolk,
I don't know
Virginia,
if I can hear you.
Zone 8A.
I still can't hear you. I don't know what's going on. Maybe my volume low on it. Okay, go ahead. My volume.
Peace.
I'm
I
sorry, y'all.
said,
My
we're
my volume been down. My volume been down on the computer this whole time. So if y'all been saying stuff like, I ain't heard nobody say nothing, I ain't recognize it was down this whole time. So my fault.
no, I was just saying that Zone 8A is Norfolk, Virginia for me.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm glad. Okay, great. I'm glad I was able to get through. Hello, everybody. This actually goes back way, maybe I don't know, 20, 30 minutes ago, when you mentioned how us not, it'll get to the point where well, it's really there now. We don't know what's in the food. Like they may say it's meat, but it may be something else.
Right.
And that got me thinking about veganism. And I'm not trying to open up a conversation. I promise not. But I was looking at a video because I'm not vegan, but I was looking at a video this week, and with veganism, it seems like they're able to make supposedly some things that resemble meat out of anything. And I guess I just wanted to ask about that. If you, I don't know, that's not a good thing though, is it, to convert anything to resemble meat? That's not a positive though either, is it? Even though it's vegan. I hope my question makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I've heard this question asked several times, like, well, if you want to be vegan, why you want to eat stuff that look like meat and taste like meat, but it ain't meat? Like, um, so I just say, like, for the most part, what I think is, most of us grow up and meat is a part of our diet. And it's not so much that I would say you shouldn't eat any meat ever in your life. I think just the way that meat is produced the production in this country and how it's produced and what they're putting into it. And then the way it's presented and marketed to us is like every meal. You know what I'm saying? Like breakfast is meat, lunch is meat, dinner is meat, the snacks is meat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is centered around meat and dairy products. So I think most of us growing up in that type of environment is like, okay, I know I'm making a decision. Some of it may be health, and some of it may be, I know what's going on with animals and stuff like this. It may be a combination of reasons. It may be spiritual reasons. You know what I'm saying? But I think people make these decisions because it's like, yo, I kind of had the best of both worlds. Like I can still enjoy the texture and flavor because the flavor comes from the plants. You know what I'm saying? Like you go boil a chicken by itself without seasoning, ground beef by itself don't have no, you know what I'm saying? Like the animal by itself don't really have no taste. So it's the plants that's giving them season. So people are finding ways to manipulate plants to resemble meat products so people can still enjoy the taste and texture of something they're used to eating, but don't feel guilty about, oh, I ate an animal and how it gonna make you feel and this type of thing. So, but I also think that there is a period of time like of transitioning from let's say, you relying on soy-based plant products or meat substitutes and transitioning to get away from those type of things, because I think the longer you stay on it, the more tempted you will be, you want to eat the real thing. So uh, that's just my personal perspective about it.
I usually worry about how processed those vegetarian and vegan substitutes are.
Yeah, yeah, that because I mean, unless you see in the process, like you don't, they'll say it's natural and it's organic, but it got some in here that they people of a lot of these companies and startup companies that coming out with these vegan products and stuff like this are being bought out by these major corporations who've been selling us the junk in the first place. So they buying up these companies to put out their products on a major
Hmm.
scale. So they may compromise some of the ingredients or something like this because they're being controlled. So um, you know,
I think your point. I think what you're saying right now is that's what I was trying to get at, and really get to the bottom of. So really, those products shouldn't be that trusted either,
no.
because it's
Exactly.
not good when you can make a carrot into something else. I would imagine.
I mean, if you do it in your home, that's one thing. But going to the store and relying on these products
Hmm.
consistently, every time you go to the grocery store, you're buying these processed foods. You still gonna run into some issues.
Yes.
So if you take a carrot at home and you do something with it to make it taste a certain way, that's one thing. But preservatives and things that they
Hmm.
add to add to the shelf life and stuff like this, you still dealing with some stuff. So it may be a healthier alternative than what it was, but you still gonna have some issues, I think. So
Thank you, and thank you for doing this.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, thank you for we've been working out these technical difficulties. So I'm thankful for everybody joining in. Any other questions or comments or anything else somebody wants to share? So I don't know what time it is, so I'm pretty sure it's been over 2 hours. I think so. So yeah, it's 5 o'clock. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, but I thank y'all for staying on for this amount of time. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, again, that you learned something. You took some note that's going to inspire you to, this wasn't information for you to be like, wow, I, please use this information to say, I'm finna go get some seeds. I'm growing something this year. Like this is something that you need to do something from. So this, I don't want, this ain't, to be all intellectual. Like take this information and go and plant something this year. All right. Post it, share it on social media. Hashtag it, grow some challenge. Like, yo, you know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. Like we got to take the information and put it to use. You know, it's enough being wild by all this information that we can't put to practical use. We need something practical, you know. So that's what it is. Um, so I'll be emailing the resource list with the recording once it's finished downloading. I'll send it out to your emails, so you'll have the video and um, I said the resource list, the reference list with the books and the websites where I got the information, so you can do some reading and follow up information on your own. So uh, again, thank everybody for tuning in, and if there are no further questions, then hope you enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your weekend, and keep growing, y'all. Keep growing. All right.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Good night.
Peace and blessings.
Peace, peace, peace.